I am now starting to feel like Mia from La La Land, so you know what? I decided to kind of do something that she did. She writes her own play and invites all these producers to it to basically just see her, and that actually is what leads to her eventually getting to be in a movie that she wants to be in. Now, I don't know if this will work, but it's an attempt. As many of you know, I've been pursuing acting, filmmaking, and screenwriting now for multiple years, and I realized I was in this cycle of going and getting I would get like good at acting for a year and a half, go, oh wait, I'm not where I want to be yet, so I need to go make a movie, and I need to direct it, and then I would make a movie and go, now I'm not where I want to be yet, so then I got to be a better writer, and so then I got good at writing, and then my screenplay wasn't picked up because I wasn't famous. So there is like a lot going on to it, but there is this kind of inspiration I got just to combine all of the knowledge that I've acquired over the past 7 years or so with acting and filmmaking and create a film on my own via my iPhone and just different equipment I got online. I've been acting since I was about 12 years old, and then when I was 18, I kind of thought it wasn't really that practical of a career. I started going to pursue other routes, but my heart was always in acting, and nothing would ever take that away from me. Nothing would ever break that connection. I decided to go to film school back in 2019, and when I got to film school, I was originally going there as an actor, but what I would soon find out at film school is they actually wasn't really about acting. It was more about creating a film and being a filmmaker and being on sets, which is fine, like that's what a film school is for, but it was never really what I wanted to do. I've always wanted to be the performer, and I always kind of felt weird going to acting class because I had been acting for so many years prior, and then when I went to this acting class, everybody that was there had never been in an acting class ever before. And even compared to like the acting classes I'm in now, the actors that I'm working with now are much more passionate about acting and have acted from years and years prior. So it's a lot easier to bounce off of, and it also inspires me to be better. This kind of frustration I got from film school led me to create a film called Puzzle Pieces. You can read the screenplay on Amazon. I put it out there, but I put it under a pen name for a reason. I didn't really understand screenwriting and storytelling when I wrote that, so much as I really understood filmmaking. And those are two very separate art forms. Like, I want to be very clear about that. The style of which you use a camera is very different than the story you're telling, the plot of what's going on and happening to the characters. And so I used the script to basically just vent my emotions at the time, and in that venting of the emotions, I was trying to just put cool sequences and cool shots to kind of flow with that. I would pitch it and pitch it and pitch it and pitch it and pitch it, and it just wouldn't go anywhere. Like, nobody was interested in it, nobody was wanting to pick it up. But there were a couple times that it was close who people seemed interested in the script, because I have learned from being on sets professionally as an adult, there are so many bad scripts out there that get made and turned into movies. It is ridiculous. But it's not really necessarily just about that, because a lot of this is just business. It's who's going to turn around and make the quickest buck. And so what my thought was okay, so the script is bad, so I need to write a better script. And so I took Tyler Mowry's course. I love Tyler Mowry. He's messaged me on Instagram too. He's a really good screenwriter, and he just really understands screenwriting in general. I've also read Story by Robert McKee like more times than I could tell you, probably upwards of 8 or 9. And I've just done a lot of research on screenwriting and studied it and really honed into it. And honestly, when it comes to Tyler Mowry's stuff, if you really listen to what he says about screenwriting and then you apply it to the movies that are currently out there, any movie that's above a 7.0 on IMDb follows his structure pretty firmly. And it's not really like a lot of things, but it's certain things that I don't think they really tell you in film school when it comes to writing. But he really breaks down just the screenplay part of it. How are you going to sell your screenplay? Because 99% of scripts are thrown out in Hollywood before they finish the first page. So this led me to The Fool, which is now decorated with many laurels. It's done well across the globe. I mean, there's been awards in Rome, Ukraine, Mumbai, Brazil, all the way up to New York, LA. There's all over the place. It's being well received by the people who are reading it, which to me just signals that the writing is in a good place. But when I was pitching it, to a bunch of different producers, and one of the producers, the most recent one, this was like 6 or 7 months ago, that he read the script and he goes, "This is one of the best scripts I've ever read in my entire life." And I said, "Great, so you want to fund it?" And he goes, "No." And I said, "Why?" And he goes, "Well, because you're not famous." And for those of you who aren't in the industry, like, understand the part of it, this is the business side of it and how he wants to take and make money. So that even if my script is going to create an 8.0 on IMDb and Logan Paul writes a script, for example, and his would get a 4.0 on IMDb, this guy's absolutely going to fund Logan Paul's film over mine because it makes way more sense. Business-wise, he's going to sell better than I am just because there's the fame to it. And so it kind of left me with this position of, okay, how do I get famous? I was familiar with TikTok and different things like that and these different ideas that I was just kind of throwing on there, throwing characters, throwing monologues, throwing sketches, whatever. And some of them were well received, some of them weren't. None of them blew up. I started trying to pursue a few different projects that were all practical to film for me now. One was called One Man Show. Again, you can purchase that on Amazon if you would like, which that is a film about a man with multiple personality disorder, dissociative identity disorder, who is really just trying to find himself. Another one is the documentary on the student debt crisis, because what I realized with this was when I was filming it, it was so hard to get people scheduled, and there were people who were on board and ready to go and excited for the project. But there would be times where the day of the shoot, somebody would cancel on me because I don't have money to pay them. So I would start pursuing funding and trying to get people to give me money to back my project. I've had so many people tell me, "Oh, this is a great idea, this is a brilliant idea," and nothing happens. They don't give you money because, again, to them, it's all business. It has nothing to do with talent. It is completely business, and I get it. I totally understand it. I specifically was in contacts with a pretty wealthy, he was a billionaire who was going to fund the student debt crisis film, but it just didn't pan out because of, you name it, a million different reasons. So I was kind of just left at this point of going, okay, I need to figure out something I can do in filmmaking that does not require anybody else to help me with it, because it's not working. I mean, trying to just schedule and align all of this all together when I don't have money backing me, like, I'm not paying people out of pocket in order to do this because I'm not in a financially great place myself. I'm not broke, ladies, by any means, but I am not the wealthiest of all people. As you can see, I'm wearing a t-shirt, which means I'm poor. So I got this idea to create just scene by scene different scenes to incorporate as different audition pieces. And so I created audition pieces that I feel pretty content with, but I got to this position where I was like, you know what, I literally could take all of the knowledge that I've acquired over these past 7 years with the acting and the directing and the writing, and I can just combine all of them and create a film on TikTok 1 minute at a time. And when I say 1 minute, like, understand that it might be longer at times or shorter at times. It just depends on what segment of the film it would be, but like averaging lower amounts like that, so I can take it bit by bit all the way to the end. So I don't really have a budget. I have money that I have saved up personally that I'm just going to use to create it myself. My thought process is, how do I go about this with what I have, which is literally an iPhone, and I have a ring light, but I just ordered some iPhone lenses off of Amazon, as well as colored lighting, and a slider that is automatic, so I can like control it with a remote control. So that'll be nice to be able to create cool shots for a push in or a pull out or like a trucking shot or anything like that. So I've realized that I really could put together a movie just with these bare bones materials. Again, I don't have money. I'm not some super successful Hollywood actor or anything like that, but I have realized, especially in the past year, that there are so many actors who are in their 70s and 80s who are some of the most talented writers and talented performers I've ever seen in my whole life, who are performing for audiences of 5 to 10 people. Because I mean, in this industry, people, it's so business orientated. How is the business side of this going to make money? So they can throw in sex, or they can make another superhero movie because it's going to guarantee a bunch of people at the box office. And honestly, most people I've talked to in the past 10 years have all said the same thing to me, is that writing hasn't been as good since the 90s and the 80s. And don't get me wrong, there's some things that definitely are great that slip through the cracks. Like Stranger Things is an amazing example of that. That there's some just really, really good writing that still exists to this day. My friend said it best. He said, there's not less good writing, there's way more bad writing than there used to be. Just because there's so much saturation of filmmaking. Again, like I said, it left me with the task of trying to become famous. So I'm creating this movie one film at a time on TikTok and Instagram and YouTube, just bit by bit, going all the way to the end. And my thought process is, anybody who follows it, then awesome. If you want to watch all the way to the end of the story to see how it pans out, great. If not, cool. I don't care. I'm just doing it because I feel like, for me, I will have a greater sense of self-purpose in this industry, and I want to create a film, and then at the end of it, look at where I'm at in my life, and kind of decide where to go from there. I mean, obviously, I'm also still getting an agent and trying to do all that part of the acting stuff, and getting involved in acting classes and getting on sets and meeting people and making connections. I'm still doing all of that stuff. This is not replacing that by any means. I'm just treating this as my own personal hobby while I pursue this in the long run. What I did today was a overall outline of the script. The way I outlined things is, first I followed the Save the Cat beat sheet. Actually didn't get all the way through it. I got about 3/4 of the way through it, so I got to the All Is Lost beat, and then I'm like, okay, I don't really know where I want to go with the climax yet, but we'll get there. And so while I'm writing, I'm just going to make these little videos and just show the process and what I'm going through, and I'm going to just try to be real about the whole thing, because why the fuck not? Like, in 100% honesty, just fuck it. I've been going at this hard and trying to hide parts of who I am and the negative aspects of me, or what I deem as the negative aspects of me. I've been trying to suppress and hide, but I don't really want to do that. I'm kind of tired of that mindset and that mentality. I am really just focusing on creating this as a film that I really just am going to do to enjoy. There's really no purpose for it other than that. If you see any of this and you're interested in helping me out, I can't pay you, but I can take whatever help I can get. Absolutely, I would love to have somebody running cinematography or helping me out with acting or any of that, but I'm just going to start by myself, and if people come by, they come by, and who knows, maybe the 50th video in this film has 10 people on the set. I really have no idea, but I'm just going to go, and I'm just going to start and go until it's done, and then assess where I'm at then. It was just this weird realization, because this channel got me recognized in public by somebody in Pittsburgh when I never lived in Pittsburgh. It was a kind of this cool awareness that the stuff that I did put out years ago with the Klep stuff is making an impact, but it's not getting traction for whatever reason. Like I said, I built the general outline with the Save the Cat beat sheet, and then I used Dan Harmon's story circle, which it's a really baseline hero's journey, but the thing is that it's so basic that you can break it down into 8 words. You need go, search, find, take, return, change. If you follow those beats, every single scene that you create is going to follow that structure. And so for the first bit of this, what I did today, is I created the overall character arc of the main character for the film, and then I break the story into 4 acts, which it's technically 3-act structure, but a lot of times with Act 2 it gets a little wonky because it's so big. So I always break Act 2 into 2 parts, so it's Act 1, Act 2 Part 1, Act 2 Part 2, and Act 3, or Act 1 through 4. The other thing I incorporated too is I came up with my theme today, which is to be the best version of yourself internally, how to become the best version of you that you can possibly be. Basically how a theme works is that every single scene that takes place is in relation to that theme. The moral of every scene is, hey, you gotta figure out how to be yourself more. And if it's not doing that, it's purposefully doing the opposite. The person is actively doing the opposite. I'm not putting a time restraint on myself with this because I'm 25. I'm not like this super. I'm not like super young anymore, and I'm also not an old filmmaker either. But who knows what happens and where I go? But if I at least attempt something, then I'm not in my head anymore. So yeah, I will be posting these types of videos kind of explaining what my process is, what I'm doing, and just releasing them bit by bit. And I'll also be releasing the film 1 minute at a time as we progress. And then hopefully by the end of that, I will be able to combine that into one solid length feature film or a movie, which I will then be releasing to festivals or whatever. So we'll see how it all turns out and where it all goes, but that's kind of just where I'm going with it right now, what I'm filling out, because you know what, I would be writing anyway. If you want to follow my YouTube and subscribe, please do. I would encourage it, because obviously, like the video if you can, and hit that notification bell. If you've seen any of the films that have come out up to the date that you've seen this video, none have come out as far as the release of this video has gone, but I anticipate releasing the first film probably in the next month or so. I'm going to create the general outline of the whole story and have it all in place and lined up, and then just start writing. And as I do scene by scene, just start going in detail what I'm going to do with each of those scenes, and then just go all the way to the end. So thanks guys for watching, and I hope you have a lovely day.